What's up, guys? This is Brian Mouse from Turf Mechanic and the Turf Mechanic brand. I've got something to say to anyone who has grass, but for the most part, I want to talk specifically to those of you who have Kentucky Bluegrass. Kentucky Bluegrass is a cool season grass predominantly that likes to grow in full sun. This is a very common grass grown in an awful lot of places around the country, and it's one grass that you're going to see rampant throughout my yard. My yard is a perennial rye and Kentucky Bluegrass mix for the majority. Way up the hill, I'm growing buffalo grass, and I've got some fine fescue out front where it's heavily shaded. But this is what I want to talk to you about. If you grow Kentucky Bluegrass in the late spring and the early fall, you really need to be looking out for this. And let me show you, because I've got it in my own lawn. All right, take a look at this. Doesn't this grass look awesome? Let me get up close here. Look at this. Really, really close. That looks spectacular. Oh, look at that. There's a little bug moth thing. Oh, he flew away. All right, now let's come over here into the shade. Remember, Kentucky Bluegrass is a full sun grass. It wants to be here. It does not want to be there. I'm filming this on September 26th. This is what I call the bookend season, the early part of fall. If I move slightly into the shade, you see this silvery white that's going on in here? You're going to find this in this whole area over here. Now you're going to find things like this. This is fine. Right next to it, you've got blades with white on it. This is called powdery mildew. Powdery mildew. It's a fungus. It's a fungus that we don't want. But what's interesting here is you're going to find this all over the place in here. But look, as I move this way, all of a sudden, I'm in the sun. You don't see it anywhere. In fact, this is actually the line. This is the shade that my house puts in the evening, but I'm also in the shade over here in the morning too. So if you get into the sun, there's nothing at all. It's clear, it's perfect. But once you move into the shade, it's a little bit everywhere.
Mushroom, Dad. Oh, I found the mushroom.
What's that?
I found a mushroom.
You found a mushroom? Where?
Here. Just right there and right there.
Right there, right there, and right there.
there.
And there and there. You're right. The mushrooms.
Yeah.
So powdery mildew is it's a fungus that we don't want in our lawns. Any grass type really, and any garden plant really, can succumb to powdery mildew. As it gets really, really bad, it can actually start killing a plant off. It's unlikely to kill the grass off that I just showed you right here, because the grass is pretty healthy and I don't over fertilize it. So if you're over fertilizing, here, let me move a bit. If you're over fertilizing your lawn, you're kind of stressing it out a little bit, unless you're giving it an enormous amount of all of the supplemental nutrition that it needs, like all of the minor nutrients, trace elements, all of the biostimulants. It's going to be a little bit more hardy. But if you're only pushing nitrogen, then that grass may be green and growing, but it's stressed out, so it's going to succumb to powdery mildew a little bit faster. It all has to do with the changing seasons. For the past few months, we've had an enormous amount of sun, so even the shady areas of my lawn have had a lot more sun than they have now. We're talking multiple hours per day less sun now than they had just 2 months ago. And next month in October and going into November, it's going to be even less. So with that, any moisture that gets into the soil is still going to be there. It's not going to evaporate away the way that it was a couple months ago when it was 98 degrees and there was 14 hours of sun a day. So any moisture in the soil is going to stay there. It's going to give that soil right there a more humid environment, and it's not going to get the sunlight that Kentucky Bluegrass wants. Powdery mildew is going to start taking hold in many shady areas that you have in your lawn. Shady areas are not optimal for Kentucky bluegrass. That's why when you find sun and shade mixes, you're going to find a lot of fine fescues mixed into those bags of grass seed, because what's expected over the many years is your sun-loving grass varieties are going to not thrive in those areas, and the shade-tolerant or the shade-loving grass varieties will. There's my daughter on her bike. Say hi. Oh, don't crash. Oh no. Let me help. Let me help.
I did get ouchie.
Yeah, you didn't get ouchie. She didn't get ouchie. So, how do you deal with powdery mildew? You actually don't want to give it heavy nitrogen. Some funguses, like say for instance a rust fungus, you want to give it a little bit of nitrogen and grow it out. But with powdery mildew, you don't really want to do that. One of the best ways to deal with that outside of applying a fungicide is to not fertilize it. You want the grass itself to start fighting it off instead of putting its energy into new growth. The other main thing that you want to do to it is prune it. So in a garden, if you've got powdery mildew on leaf tissues in your garden, you prune those things off. You're basically you're physically snipping off the leaves that are affected and removing them from the equation, discarding them. With grass, you don't just go down there with snippers and prune individual leaves, you use your lawnmower. So what I'm going to do for that area is I'm going to take my lawnmower, stick the bag on it, and I'm going to scalp the entire area. And I'm going to let it recover on its own. I'm going to discard the clipping to get the fungus out of the area. And then instead of applying a fungicide, I'm going to apply, because I don't apply fungicides to my lawn. That's not my method here on my main lawn. It's an option for many of you guys, but for me it's not. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be applying, kind of as an experiment, I'm going to be applying milk. I'm going to stick it in a sprayer, and I'm going to spray the affected area with milk to see if there's a difference. And I'll happily show you the results here. Let me get into the shade so you can actually see here. So over here, I don't have any powdery mildew fungus, but over here in the shade, I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, cut a line, random line here, and I'm going to scalp the whole thing. And then for part of it, I'm going to apply milk to the lawn, and the milk will be my natural fungicide. And we're going to see the difference in how the scalped area performs over the next couple weeks versus the scalped with milk area. After taking my mower over it on the lowest setting possible, you can easily see that this is scalped down about as low as most people ever cut their lawn. So we're getting a little bit of the browns, we're seeing some of the stems, but at this point, if I get really low, let's see, there's one. There's a little bit of mildew on that one right there. I'm just gonna pull it off. The point here is most of the mildew has been removed. This is basically kind of like pruning a plant. And now we're going to go ahead and spray some milk on the lawn and see if that remedies the situation. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Say powdery mildew.
Powdery mildew.
Powdery?
Powdery
Mildew.
mildew.
Good job. High five. Yeah! Mildew. All right, I'm gonna go from here in a straight line all the way to this paver. All right, did I miss any spots?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Here, hold this. All right. For those of you who don't know, this is my oldest son, Samuel. He's been in a number of videos over there. Here, step into the shade.
Where there's milk.
Yeah, just step on the milk, man. My son Samuel, also known as Cloofmonster on YouTube. You can look up that if you want to see the rantings of a 11-year-old boy.
I'm in an entertainment channel.
He's an entertainment channel. Samuel has actually edited videos for this channel, for Turf Mechanic. This kid is going places. Samuel, why are we putting milk on this lawn?
I do not know.
You don't know?
No.
Didn't it have like that white stuff on the grass blades?
Actually, yes, if you look closely.
Well, what? Tell me what that white stuff was.
It's like fungus that grows on the grass when it does, only on a certain type of grass when it's in the shade a lot.
That's true. It's only on a certain type of grass. However, it is possible to be on any grass. But this time of year, it's really likely to be on Kentucky Bluegrass when it's where?
In the shade.
In the shade, in the shade. So we get rid of it by cutting really low, cutting the fungus off, and then we're using the milk proteins as a kind of a fungicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is there no fungus over here?
Because it's in the sun.
Because it's in the sun. My son is right. So everything from here over has milk. Oh, I fell over. And everything from there over has no milk. We're going to let the grass grow back and find out if it looks like the powdery mildew has been, I don't know, if there's a difference of it on either side. What do you think?
I think the milk is going to help it.
But you don't know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sam?
Yeah?
I don't know either. I've never applied milk to the lawn. This is the first opportunity I've had to apply milk to the lawn to actually see if it works.
Have you like looked it up to see if it will work?
Well, I've seen other people say that it works and it makes sense. And in fact, on the channel a year ago, I made a video about weird things to do the lawn that actually works. And this is one of those things. Joe told me about this. Joe told me that. Do you believe Joe?
Yeah,
Why?
because Joe is a grass person.
We'll see if it works. All right, give your plug for your channel, man.
Click on my channel right here, and then
Right there? Is it right there?
yeah, it's right
Or is
here.
it right there?
No, it's right there.
It's right there?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you like Minecraft and other things,
Other weird things.
things. This guy does weird things, but he's pretty creative. Just look at his eyes. Weird eyes, man. Squirrely eyes.
I'm hugging him.
What are you doing to the kitty?
I'm hugging him.
You're hugging the kitty?
Yeah.
It looks like you're squishing the kitty.
No, I'm hugging the kitty.
You're hugging the kitty?
Yeah.
You love the kitty?
Yeah.
He's a pretty good kitty, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he your favorite?
Yeah. She is black and white.
He's black and white.
Yeah.
All right, a whole week has passed since the first part of this video. During that week, I irrigated the area one time, and I haven't cut the grass, so everything's really kind of due for a cut. But because there might still be some lingering powdery mildew, I'm going to go ahead and bag the clippings anyway, just to get as much off of the surface as possible. And then we'll go in close with the camera and see if it looks any better. All right, that looks nicer. After a nice trim, let's go in close. Here's my milk application line. Everything over there should look pretty good. Everything over there should look also pretty good, but hopefully not as good. I don't know, that's weird to say that, but I do want the milk side to look better than there. And then as we move over here where I didn't cut it all or apply milk, and I fertilized even, it will look worse. Let's start with the untouched area. So you can see, let's see here. You can see where I cut the grass was right here, but everything over there I didn't scalp. And as we get in close, where I didn't scalp, you can still see some of this silvery mildew, powdery mildew. It's all over. Look at that. It's everywhere. But here, where I scalped it down, but didn't apply milk, see, look, see that? There's powdery mildew still in there. This is where I did not scalp and fertilized. Now over here, this is where I scalped, but didn't apply milk. And you can see, look at that, there's a little tiny bit of mildew in there. So this little area's got some. There's a little bit down in there. You can tell that the grass is starting to look much healthier. It hasn't grown all the way back to where it was before, but it's looking a lot better. A little bit more powdery mildew. Let's go over into the section where I applied the milk and see if we can find anything. So over here, again, everything is looking better. Maybe a touch of powdery mildew there. In my opinion, it's harder to find chunks of powdery mildew. Maybe a touch there. Maybe. Certainly not much. There's a little bit down in there, just a little tiny bit. Obviously, this is not a scientific experiment. It's not controlled enough. I was pretty much goofing off with my kids through the whole thing. But I can't deny the fact that it's harder to find remnants of the powdery mildew in the area where I applied the milk, as opposed to further over there where I didn't apply the milk. And then obviously, where I didn't scalp it and I fertilized it, it's very easy to find over there. It's unchanged. So my takeaway from this is, yeah, you could apply fungicides as a preventative or a curative effort with lawn diseases like this. You don't have to. If you are constantly tending to your lawn to promote its health as opposed to extraordinary unnecessary growth, then your grass can usually fight off diseases pretty well through cultural practices. And that's what we call cultural practices when we're talking about like cutting it off. Like we're just going to cut that fungus off, bag it, get it out of here, and let the grass recover on its own. It should be strong enough to do that if we're fertilizing for health. Now, does the milk work as a natural fungicide? It probably does a little bit. Probably. I'm not a scientific enough person to really know for sure or prove it, but I feel like the milk helped in the section that I sprayed it. Is it enough to do it every single time? I don't know, but it's just milk. So long as you got a few extra bucks to buy half a gallon of milk, go for it. Anyway, I do want to thank Joe Tepp from Live Your Best Lawn for his contribution to my channel regarding the milk a full 12 months ago. I do want you to check out his channel. I'm going to link to it somewhere here on the screen and in the description below. He's a small lawn care YouTube creator. I want to support people like that as much as I can. Lastly, for those of you who do have shady areas and maybe your Kentucky bluegrass that happens to be in those areas doesn't fare well in the fall, or maybe it's just thinner, this is the perfect time to overseed fine fescue into those areas. Fine fescue will do significantly better in these shady environments. I have multiple videos all about fine fescue. I'm going to link to one important fine fescue video up here in the corner. It would be the perfect grass type to overseed into these areas where your Kentucky bluegrass is having trouble in the bookend seasons of the year. Thanks for watching. Say please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
And hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
Bye.
Bye.